Search is dying and AI has already taken over. If your brand isn't showing up inside answer engines like ChatGPT, you're already invisible. This is the AEO Show, the podcast that teaches you how to become the answer in the age of AI. Every episode breaks down what's working right now to get found in a zero-click world. Listen now and join the free forever community at aeo.co/free. Hey y'all, it's Kasim with AEO.co here with my buddy Julian.
Hey, Lopez.
Julian, I assume when I point this way that you're going to be this way, but I don't really know. So we'll find out. We're going to dive into some of the frequently asked questions as they pertain to answer engine optimization. Julian is the resident expert. What did we decide your title was?
Head of research.
Okay, sorry. Julian is the head of research at AEO and leads a team, a total team of 5 that spend their mornings, afternoons, nights, evenings, and weekends trying to figure out how AI captures its content and delivers the answers, because we want to help you be the answer. So, Julian, first question for you. What is answer engine optimization and how is it different from regular SEO?
Well, that comes from, that might sound like one of these many other ways to call AI optimization on search, which people call it LLM SEO or AI SEO or anything like that. We have already done good enough research to decide on answer engine optimization, and we didn't have to look through too much. There was already theses going around the answer engine optimization framework. This is no longer search. This is not about the search dynamic. This is one step further away. The answer dynamic is when you ask a question and you don't go through the search, you delegate the search to an AI system that goes on your behalf, finds the relevant sources, and matches the findings into the question that you asked. That's why answer engines are right now. That's why we identify as an answer engine, these tools that go on your behalf and build an answer based on sources that are validated in their own way. Answer engine optimization is again kind of the set of tasks, the frameworks that we follow, the tactics that you have to do in order to be recognized as a source, to be recommended as an answer for your customer or query, your user. So that's kind of what we are looking into to develop.
You gave me a great paradigm shift in a previous video. You said that search is a library and answer engines are a conversation. And with search, I mean, like literally physical library, right? Dewey Decimal System, books off the shelf. Like search is going through a collection of information. And so when people try to rank for search, they just try to be the book that somebody finds. With the conversation, the thing that I think most necessary to understand and pertains specifically to answer engine optimization is a conversation is iterative and ongoing. So it's not just ever, and this is going to become more and more true the more people use these answer engines. It's not prompt response done. You don't just go to ChatGPT and say, where do I, how do I, when do I? Instead, you're going back and forth. So it's like, how do I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And then ChatGPT says, well, first you need to do this, 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 and this. And instantly we have a collection of answers. And then that answer catalyzes another series of questions. And then you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And each time the answer engine responds, the definition of that response is the answer. And so you as the business owner, the authority, the thought leader, the value provider, you want to be embedded in the answers. And the difference between that and SEO is massive. Because SEO asks that you become a part of the results that are offered and preferably at the top, which means you are a collection of options. And so you're now like, you're a product on a shelf that people can compare. That's very, 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 very different than an answer engine responding to somebody's query with your information as though it is the answer. Like those are entirely different endeavors. And I know I'm maybe harping on this a little too deeply, and yet I feel like this is critical. Like this is the critical point that people need to begin to understand as they shift from SEO to AEO, because they're not, and this is what's pissing me off is I'm paying attention to my Twitter thread and I'm watching all these SEOs seeing forced obsolescence on the horizon and saying things like, oh, AEO is SEO. You actually sent me a slide the other day. Somebody was offering a webinar or something and they're like, AEO is just SEO. No, it's not. It's not semantic index based. It's not reliant on link building. It's not about key phrase, right? Like AEO is an entirely separate, different endeavor in an entirely different channel done in an entirely different way. Do you agree with that? Have I said anything that you think is wrong?
Yeah, well, uh, it is directionally correct. You could attempt to justify that SEO will end up being AEO, just because if you were doing SEO many years, and you will find your clients sometimes into the answers, but that's not a direct correlation. Otherwise, we will not be having this discussion. And what we see is that SEO, as is being built, is being done, doesn't directly get you to be the answer. So that's a different dynamic. This is a different search user behavior. This is a different dynamic. As you told, you are building answers upon answers, and you are not just getting the information, you are giving out information to the systems, and they are building that little knowledge of your preferences and getting you more detailed answers like that. So this is a different dynamic, and I don't think this is the end of the road. I'm just waiting for the moment where we get rid of our keyboards forever, and everything we do is just voice. And that's on the future. Like that's why the agentic web is about. That's why we have been hearing about it from Microsoft, and Opera is going to launch its own agentic web browser. So that's pretty close. There's going to be a time where the internet is not going to be optimized for the user. We are not going to enter to every website and try to find if they provide what we look for, but the agents themselves are going to be the ones entering the sites and gathering the information themselves, and doing the actions like shopping, reserving your flights, your hotels, and everything like that. So I think there's many things in which SEO stop being the thing that we aim for.
So why should I care? Why do I care about AEO if my current SEO strategies are working? If that's the counterclaim somebody might offer you, right?
Yeah. We have seen many changes on the last year, in which SEO is constantly changing. Like, you have to adjust some things. The cheap tactics that used to work don't work anymore. So you have to go back to the basics and start to doing some more helpful content and all of that. But it's going to be changing. You have to care, just because you are using yourself these tools. You are using them, and you are not seeing yourself in the answers. That's the big signal that you might have. If you are not seeing that, if your traffic is going down, if you don't know how AI works in any sense, you are kind of slowly getting buried by by people that have already been taking action into optimizing for these new technologies. And that they are getting closer to be the answer. So this is effectively a race right now, in the same way that these LLMs, these AI platforms are running towards being the goal. We have to think through this process also as a paradigm shift, as a new landscape that we have to adapt as soon as possible, and that we have to get to position ourselves in the best way possible.
I saw a article that talked about the loss of search traffic, and it feels really difficult to peg because it's not a data point that Google wants to feed us. That's not great for shareholder confidence or stock price. But you can see information on the periphery speaking to that. So major web properties losing search referral traffic. I think you shared a data point with me. Something like 54% of all traffic is zero click now. All search traffic is zero click.
Yeah, we will have the exact figures about that, but that's pretty much it. And it correlates to the amount of informational queries that used to be done, and that was the goal of traditional SEO, to aim for informational content, so that your website could be shown in the 10 links and have a chance of getting people into your site. But that as well, that didn't get people much closer to getting business to you that way. So that's kind of the new dynamic that we see. The questions are being answered in the platform. You are getting your answer solved for you, and you can go ahead and keep researching, keep finding out the ways that you can solve your problem, what different solutions are for you. So that's where traffic is gone, where your bet was to answer questions just because people were asking them, instead of developing your product presence, your advantages, your brand presence across the sources that people and AI go for answers.
So how do I do it? How do AI-powered search engines, I know they're not search engines, but how do AI-powered engines choose which businesses to recommend? And the follow-up question to that would be, how do I game that system? Like, how do I make it my business that they're recommending?
Okay, that's the best question that there is, just because there's no clear answer in
Yeah, well, you just press the button, right? You press the AI button, and then they recommend you, and you're done, and it's over, and it's super
Exactly.
fast and super cheap and super easy.
Exactly. So that's the key question that we're going after. We are running a research into comparing results. We are going to
Talk to me, if you don't mind, Julian. Get deep on so if you're watching this video, Julian leads a 5-person team that analyzes, it's fair to say at this point, it has to be hundreds of thousands of data points, maybe probably millions of data points every day on answer engines over specific queries, trying to determine how they're sourcing their information. Can you give us a deep dive on where this knowledge of yours is coming from?
Yeah, well, I've been losing sleep about AI search from more than a year, and really going into the research from the end of last year, really going through the data points that might matter, that the data points that were important for SEO, and try to match them to the results that we see. So we are effectively reverse engineering the AI answer engine machine, and try to understand how much of that matches to traditional SEO. And the results that we are seeing is that they don't match a lot. So that's what's interesting. Higher domains, bigger backlink count doesn't really get you to the top. There's other things playing out. We have been doing research by getting a set of queries related to a business type or to a market, and running those into a set of top three LLMs, AI platforms that we choose. We started off with ChatGPT because this is the bigger one, this is the most popular. The second one is Perplexity, which is the one that really technical people like, really people that care about the answers really like, because it has a really, really good approach to answers. And the last one was Gemini, just because it was Google's son. But more sooner than later, we saw that Gemini wasn't really good for search. Somehow it stopped citing results altogether. It wasn't search optimized. It started working like ChatGPT or anything. It will give you sources, but from 1 second to the next, you couldn't get the sources anymore, and the answers weren't really grounded in any sources that you would call like they were like trustable. So in that way, we are this dynamic of breaking down queries into these different data points, keyword matching, how much the URL matches the keywords into the query, how optimized these websites that are being cited are, what is the schema profile on those websites, and many, many, many more data points, so that we have a good enough visual of what is happening inside of these answer engines. And if we want the short answer to that, I think it's one step further than traditional search. The way that these answer engines work is that they don't give you the closest source that they find and give you that. They took one step further. They go to the sources of the topic that you are looking for to find what are the recommended brands, the recommended businesses that live here, what are their reviews, what are people saying about them, and then they go find those brands and give you that answer into their
So
groups.
they take your query, use your query in order to understand the authority in the space. Once they've identified the authority, or authorities, then they match what's being said or done by the authorities against your query. So it's actually, interestingly, it's the same process you and I would go through for anything. I want a new water
Yeah.
softener. I'm going to go research water softeners, and not just the products, but the water softener experts and thought leaders, and the podcasts and the YouTube videos and whatever. And then based off of what they're saying, kind of come full circle. And they're doing that entire process, but it feels like in literal fractions of a second.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's something to keep in mind, that these tools don't have Perplexity, at least, or ChatGPT. They don't have the corpus of Google. They don't have the full set of the index web that they have access to. So they had to get really clever at choosing their sources. So they go to places where people go to find these answers organically. They go to either recommend or bash any brand or any business, and they got closer to the user perspective on that specific topic. So that's not always Reddit, Quora, or these big name platforms that you have. There's also directories or review sites, really niche, that you should get into in order to be recommended also by but there's many other things, of course. But if you want, the short answer is that, like, um, get into the places that AI look for recommendations, so that you get at least presence, and then you build your own reputation on those places, so that you get a better chance to appear as an answer.
So if you're watching this and you want the long answer, we wrote a book, literally wrote the book on AEO. I think it's the only book in the market that has real data-driven truth. It's free. Go to aeo.co/free, and you can download the book. And when you download the book, we're updating it on a regular basis, and you'll receive the updates as well. And the hope there is that we can all start to establish some baseline in terms of best practices for how to actually accomplish this endeavor. So don't feel like we're withholding anything from you. These videos can't be as long as the book is, so go download the book. But other, moving along, I guess, is as we learn more things, Julian, and as the algorithms change, we'll continue to update the book and our corpus of knowledge.
Yeah, well, and just to give you a sneak peek as to how deep we have dig into this concept, we have developed a framework. We didn't just gather a blog post and the most mentioned answers. We really dig deep into what we think it will be the next phase of what you can do. Of course, there's many tactics that you could go about. There's many ways in which you could change your current content, but I think the real goal, the real end to it, is to get your brand into the brain of these LLMs, and into the brain of the whole wide web. And that's one framework that we have in the book already. So just go ahead and take a look at it when you can.
What's the connection between natural language processing and optimizing my content for AI search?
Well, natural language processing is the thing that we are getting closer, that got us closer to machines understanding our thinking. So an LLM is a collection of meanings divided into numbers. Like, you will get your brand, your name, or a concept divided into words, into syllables, and they will be part of an embedding, of a coordinate, or a vector database, in which the LLMs understand the relationship between those words and other words, different contexts. That's the way that machines make sense. Like, they try to understand meaning. If you try to do that in a different way, just by language, they wouldn't do it. We have to really translate meaning into the machines, and that's what natural language processing allows to do. They are I think, the bridge in which we can communicate to our understanding of the world with their own understanding of the world. So what this allows us to do, and what, in layman words, we will be able to do in the future, is just talk everything out to the machines. They are able to understand not only our words, but our language, or specific speech, or patterns.
Sentiments.
Yeah,
attention, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, this goes beyond the intent, the intention. Even a good way to measure intelligence will be sarcasm or something like that. That's cool. That could be in
If that's a good way to measure intelligence, I got 2 little boys that must be literal geniuses at this point.
the yeah. Yeah. So that's the deep into that we are walking into. So in practical terms, what this get us is further away from the keyword strategies that we are no longer reliant on trying to own one keyword for ourselves and try to rank into this ever growing stairs of people that are behind one keyword. We instead have to optimize or have the chance to optimize for the width of or corpus of the meaning in a certain topic, that you can go beyond the keyword and you get to talk in a topical way. uh, I don't know.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense. This is how real authorities function. Like the internet forced us in a position where everything was single serving pieces of information. But that's not like, if you've been to the easiest experts to point at are doctors, right? Like, because that's kind of the perfect analogy for deep expertise, you would hope.
Mhm.
So if you go to the doctor and you're like, why does my elbow hurt? Doctor, if you Google, why does my elbow hurt? Google goes, tinnitus or whatever. I don't know. But the doctor says, well, it depends on this. Here's the context. Here's, this bone's connected to that bone, this tendon, and it requires tendrils. It requires foundation. It requires extrapolation. And we've actually, interestingly, gotten away from that method of interfacing and interacting with content. We've just been like, I want the most shallow, least nutritious, easiest answer you can possibly give me. And because we're now dealing with artificial intelligence, we'll just say intelligence, we're actually reversing that method and that mechanism. And so instead of optimizing for shallow answers, you actually have to optimize for authority, which again is a whole new paradigm. It's why AEO and SEO aren't the same things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the difference of seeing, hey, my elbow is hurting, and I think it's because I don't know, I lifted something. But once you're again by going back to the doctor analogy, they oftentimes go wider. They ask for more questions. Why is your past? What did you
Right.
eat? So in that way, they have many more tools than you have as to define something that is happening, because they have this wide array of meanings around your problem. So that's that's what we are getting into. Natural language processing allows to be more specific, allows to be more nuanced, more customized as what we want to get out of the question that we might ask. And what this is effectively a bridge between what a machine can understand and what I want to understand. So this is kind of the tool that we are using for it.
Dude, this is awesome. Super valuable. If you're watching this, again, if you want to do a deep dive, go to AEO.co/free. You can have our book absolutely free. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe. We're shooting videos weekly. We should be publishing videos almost daily, given the amount of content we're publishing. And yeah, we hope that y'all will come with us on this journey. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you for tuning in to the AEO Show. Do you want to learn how your brand can become the answer for AI engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini? Join our free forever community at AEO.co/free and get access to research, tools, and live discussions that will keep you ahead of what's next. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review, because the future of search is already changed.